Now that a bit of time has passed and the dust has settled, we can finally evaluate Dragon Age the Veilguard fairly, with a bit of objectivity. And the question is, was it genuinely as bad as everyone was saying? Was it awful? Was it a total embarrassment for BioWare that should see them shut down? EA close the studio finally after all this time? Or was it all a big exaggeration? Was it actually a pretty good game? And it was just the online hate mob, the grifters, as they say these days, just basically going too far, and maybe the Veilguard was actually okay, did pretty well, and now the truth's going to come out. Well, we can actually sort of find this out for ourselves now, because while EA is never going to release any actual sales numbers for the Veilguard, because let's be honest, despite what anyone says, whether it's IGN, GameSpot, Polygon calling it Game of the Year, a contender, we all know that most people just didn't like it no matter what. Even if they were people who pretended to, if they defended the game and said, no, it's just the chuds, they're just hating on it because of woke this, woke that, those people deep down didn't like it either. There were no real fans of the game. The only people who were defending it would say, it's all right, it's not that bad, it's a 7 out of 10, it's not a 0 out of 10, and we all know in gaming what 7 out of 10 really means. That means it's bad, it's almost unplayable, if we're real about that. But what we've got here is best of 2024, this is Steam, by the way, the year's top games measured by gross revenue. So this isn't like Steam putting together just a random list of well-received games or people voting on their favorite games or something. This is probably as close as we're actually going to get for sort of finding out how the Veilguard did commercially. And obviously this is just on PC, and maybe it's different on PS5. Certainly not Xbox, let's be honest with ourselves. But I think it'd be coping to suggest, even if it looks bad on PC, maybe on PS5 it was way better. Like, come on, like Dragon Age, at the end of the day, when the franchise started, it was a PC franchise. I'm actually going back and replaying Origins at the moment, which is just kind of sad to do, because you know it's all downhill from there. There's basically one genuinely great Dragon Age game, and then things got kind of embarrassing. And even the PC port of Origins is no good. You got to download mods to fix the resolution, or the UI is minuscule. You got to get them out of magnify glass. But enough about that. If we look here at top games on Steam by revenue, we've got the Platinum category. As you'd expect, the big selling games, Pal World, Call of Duty, even Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate are here, I assume because they're still selling really, really well even this year because of that insanely positive word of mouth. You go down a bit into gold. These didn't sell quite so well, but still pretty good. Dragon Ball, Sparkling Zero, FIFA, still pretty big games here. We get into silver now, so not quite as well selling. And it makes sense, Hogwarts Legacy is in here. It's now nearly 2 years old, I can't believe that, but still selling respectively, despite it being pretty old. Dragon's Dogma 2 didn't do maybe so well. I think it was because the PC port was just bad. It led to mixed reviews. Maybe that harmed it a little bit. But you may have noticed I haven't mentioned Dragon Age the Veilguard yet, so how low does it get on this list? Well, we get into bronze selling now, and this is interesting. We've got Sekiro, which is 5 years old now. We've got, what else? Ballistro, which is an indie game. Ballitro, I should say. And this has done extremely well for being an indie game, probably made by, like, one person. But to see that here, alongside, we're finally here, the Veilguard. So the Veilguard is in the bronze category. Here's another indie game. It's alongside, it's sold about as well as TCG Card Shop Simulator. I don't even know if this game had a budget. I'm pretty sure this was made by one person. And again, people like this game, and it's done pretty well, this indie title, but it's alongside, it's sold as well as the Veilguard, made by BioWare, who have like 500 plus employees. I think I saw on LinkedIn not too long ago, huge budget, like 5, 6 plus years in development. it sits alongside in the sales figures, it looks like, either indie games or titles that released years ago. Like, Fallout 4's here. The Sims 4 is here. Horizon Forbidden West, which is a PC port of a years-old game now. It's pretty clear that it genuinely did do embarrassing numbers. It's not hyperbole, just wanting to see it fail, hoping above all else that it fails, because if gaming goes in the direction of the Veilguard, it's going to be destroyed. So we wanted it to fail, but it actually just has. So I don't actually know how you can defend this, how BioWare even can come back from this now, because this isn't just the case of shut down BioWare, because the BioWare studios too woke and they're ruining things, they need to go, come on EA, be based. It's not that conversation, it's just they put out a game, it was a commercial failure. It's not like it was a hidden gem that maybe didn't get the accolades it deserved, people didn't know about it, it's underrated. No one actually likes it. It failed because people wanted to like it. There were a lot of people who were desperate for this to succeed, even when it didn't look good. Even when it was just the case of too much purple, the art style looked stupid, the companions looked embarrassing. There still seemed to be some people who wanted to love it and were desperate for the game to prove people wrong and show that even when you have clowns making a game, they're still going to do great things because they're progressives at the studio or something. So let's show that these people can make it happen. But then it didn't happen, and most of the people hoping for it to succeed, they've probably been the quietest, because they're the saddest that it flopped and it all fell over. But no one is defending or likes this. I think the clearest thing to me was just going to the Dragon Age subreddit, and I remember the days where there were people defending the game here, and that there was a lot of copers, people would get banned if they said anything negative about the game. They've sort of gone beyond acceptance. Like, there were those stages of grief for a while there, but now that months have passed, you go to the Dragon Age Reddit, they're just not even talking about the game. Like, it's been forgotten from everyone's mind, basically. It doesn't exist. What's Dragon Age the Veilguard? There's no Dragon Age 4. The series stopped with Inquisition, because every post is just about the older games in the franchise. They're talking about Inquisition. It seems like they're talking about Dragon Age 2, there's a few threads about Origins and so on. We finally get to some Veilguard stuff, but not a whole lot of engagement. It looks like it's just reverted back to well before the Veilguard was even a thing. Like, this Reddit is now indistinguishable from what it was maybe 5 years ago. It actually reminds me of the Bloodlines Reddit as well, because that went through the same sort of cycle where when people were coping, oh, no, the Chinese room, Bloodlines 2, it's going to be great, just give them a chance, come on. And then we found out all the details about the game, and then everyone just completely fell off, and now no one talks about Bloodlines 2. There's nothing about it on the internet. No one is talking about it. I've made a handful of negative videos about it. That's really it. It doesn't get discussed outside of that, pretty much. And that seems to be what happened with the Veilguard. It's just been forgotten. And the last, I guess, little lesson from all this is we all know that mainstream video game critics and journalists, whatever you want to call them, they obviously lost all relevance years ago, but they hit rock bottom this year. And the Veilguard just felt like their last little hurrah before everyone just wrote them off completely. Even maybe those last hangers-on, maybe some normies who don't look into this stuff, and maybe they are interested in the latest IGN review or something. I think even those people are just gone now, and we might see 2025 is the year that the mainstream video game publications, they just switch off. They cease to exist. They close down. There's already been a lot of consolidation, IGN buying up a lot of these smaller outlets, and that's usually a sign. I've seen this in sort of non-gaming industries, where once that consolidation starts to just really accelerate, that's just the end, basically. It'll all be gone soon. So it could be the silver lining of a lot of corruption around when the Veilguard was about to come out, and there were these shill positive reviews doing the rounds where people started coping, oh, it's actually going to be good, it's just the chuds and the grifters saying it's going to be bad. And then we found out it was the opposite. The game was genuinely that terrible. The silver lining could be we could see the end now of some of these outlets. Now that trust is at absolute rock bottom, which is saying a lot because there was really no trust there to begin with. Now they've gone into negative trust. But you even look at, they're still going with this. They're still pushing the same narrative that the Veilguard was actually a decent game and it wasn't horrible. They're continuing to sell the lie well past its use-by date. Like, you don't have to keep this con going. You can stop now. You don't have to pretend anymore. We see with Polygon the 50 best video games of 2024 and, oh, there it is, the Veilguard. Is this an affiliate link or something? They're trying to sell the game on here. It's 44% off. It's only a couple of months old, but it's nearly half price. Come on, someone buy it. Still going with this. Number 17, best game of the year, apparently. But what we know is these publications, any game that sort of resembles AAA, pretty graphics, it's got the set pieces, it's got the nice character models, it automatically goes into the top 10, the top 20. That's just what they do. Indie games, smaller games basically don't exist. Even though there's titles made by one person, no budget basically, that are much funner, they don't get a mention because these outlets, well, it's just the advertising dollars. That's all they care about. It's not about gaming. They never cared about gaming. IGN, it's exactly the same. The best video games of 2024, still living the lie. Dragon Age the Veilguard is on the list. GameSpot are the same. I thought they had a bit more integrity or something, but maybe that's my mind playing tricks because the Veilguard's on there as well, and another affiliate link. Go to Amazon. Please buy this game. We are desperate. This is pretty much the story now. It's not even the case of people hating the Veilguard and, oh, it's ruined the franchise to the point where I can't enjoy it anymore, and oh my goodness, what has happened? No one cares. People are just happy to pretend that it never existed because it's just so forgettable. I still live by the fact that it was a live service game for a while. It was in development as one, a big multiplayer gas title. And then at some point, EA course corrected and said, actually, no, we don't want this to be yet the latest failure in that drama, because it's actually not good for companies like EA when these live services come out with a big roadmap, all these promises, and then they bomb. And then, like with Suicide Squad, they have to walk back the promises. We've seen it with Marvel's Avengers, for instance. They turn it off, or at least they stop their plans well before they wanted to, because that kills confidence in people actually investing and spending money in live service games. Because if it happens too often, people eventually, even the biggest idiots, will say to themselves, well, what's the point of investing? It's like getting into a TV show in its first season where you have that inkling feeling of, do I want to invest in this TV show? Because if it gets cancelled after one season, I'm never going to find out how it really ends. I'm going to get invested for nothing. I don't want that regret. So for EA and companies like that, they probably don't want too many live service failures, especially if they pretty much know ahead of time, like with the Suicide Squad. That's definitely going to bomb. That's probably why more of these companies are going to cancel them tax write-off before they come out and flop. Don't even bother giving it a chance, because even if we make a little bit of money back, even the $75 that Concord made, you don't want to do that, because it's just going to damage live services long-term, which I'm happy to see, but unfortunately these companies aren't going to let it happen. They're going to do everything they can to make these live service hits, and I think that Dragon Age the Veilguard was going to be one. They reconfigured it into a single-player game, and that's part of what basically just made it impossible to be fun, because it had too much of the DNA from a live service game. They just repackaged it as single player, and it didn't work. It just felt lazy, stupid. It didn't feel like a Dragon Age game whatsoever. Even forgetting just all of the weird DEI stuff. It had all these problems beside that. It would have been awful, even if the characters resembled Origins and that sort of tone. But this is it. Everyone's forgotten about the game, except for the EA accountants, because they're going to be looking at the balance sheet. As we saw, according to Steam revenue, they don't give you the exact numbers, obviously, but we can compare with other games, and it doesn't look good. It looks like the Veilguard was a massive financial flop. Will it be the end of BioWare, or will they crawl to the finish line with Mass Effect 5 and get one more chance? I'm sure we'll find out very soon. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.